Hello everyone, welcome to another video where we're looking at the steam boiler replacement at Temple Aaron in Trinidad, Colorado. So today, the video is going to be primarily about preparing the existing piping so that I can attach the new boiler to it. Now I wanted to do this before I got too far with the rest of the boiler assembly, just to make sure that I didn't bang up the jacket too much or anything like that if something were to fall on it. One thing that I did run into, you're seeing now, is I tried to, it was a little chilly this day, so I was trying to run a little heater, and my Sawzall plus the heater tripped the breaker, so I had to deal with that, hence me wandering around with the lights off. But there's a couple things that were sort of funky about the old install. For some reason, they left the connections to the original boiler, that big honking thing on the left there. They left both the steam supply main and the return tied into the old boiler. They had it valved off, so I don't think it was actually communicating with that boiler at all, but I don't know why they left it connected. It seemed like an odd decision, but I'm gonna get rid of that, and so you can see me right now. I'm cutting it off of where it connected to, or at least on that return where it connected to the old boiler, and then I'm gonna get this cut off here, and now that return is going to be the only one I use for the system, tying back into the new boiler. It won't have any connection to the old boiler anymore. So that big valve that's right behind my head right now was something that I wasn't really looking forward to doing because it is just so heavy and so big that I wasn't 100% sure how I was going to do it, to be honest with you, because I didn't have anyone who could really help me out this day, so I thought about it for a while and decided that what I was going to do is use some of this, it's called plumber's tape or holy iron, and it is a metal strap with a bunch of holes in it, so you can screw it into stuff and bolt it and do all sorts of stuff. So I didn't set my camera up 100%, but what I'm doing right now is supporting the steam main so that I can get ready to cut it. And then I'm going to support this big valve, and I'm going to cut it off and let it hang from the straps, and then cut the strap and let it fall to the floor. So that was my plan, and this is me just getting everything set and ready to go. Now, I had thought that maybe what I could do is just cut it and catch it on the ladder, but the more I looked at it, the more I thought about it, I'm really glad I didn't try and do that, because that probably would not have worked out too well. I would have had to have the Sawzall in one hand cutting and then catch this thing when it dropped. And I would guess once I picked it up and carried it away, it probably weighs about 80 pounds. So that didn't seem to be the best decision, so I got everything supported and then got ready with my Sawzall. Through a piece of plywood, you'll see me move that here. I'm just getting most of the way through it first. If I get close to the bottom, then I can kind of control when it breaks free by just bending it and moving it back and forth. So once I got it close, I got a piece of plywood propped against the boiler to prevent, and just in case it swung in a funky way and it didn't work the way I wanted it to when I cut the strap. I didn't want anything to happen to the boiler or to the pad or anything like that. So there you go, got it loose. Now it's just hanging from that strapping. So what I'm going to do, get this plywood in place, and I gotta say this was a little nerve-wracking. I made sure multiple times that I had the plywood just where I wanted it. Make sure it's propped against the cast iron, not the smoke breaching. It's helping everything. And then finally, there it went. And everything worked out well, and I kept going. So, when you work by yourself, you just gotta be a little creative sometimes and come up with solutions for stuff that would be much easier to do with two people. But that's how life goes. And I will say, cutting this 3-inch 3-inch steel pipe, I did go through an awful lot of Sawzall blades. it does just eat them right up. And you can't really see what I'm doing. I'm going to adjust the camera here in a sec. You'll see what I'm actually cutting into. But there's a horizontal section of pipe here that connected to the old boiler that I need to get rid of and cut it back to where I need to connect to for the new system. So there you go. Now you can actually see that pipe that I'm working on. So you can see I've got two straps, one on each side of that T there, and I've already cut the left side there. So now I'm putting up more strapping, support this piece here, and then I'm going to support it behind my cut as well, and cut this section out, and then carry that down off the ladder, and then I've got one more cut to make past that. So when I do the actual new connection to the system, I have a welder who's going to come in and weld a flange on for me so that I have a good connection point to the existing steam main. So you'll see that in another video, probably the video where I do all the header piping and all that. But in the meantime, I just want to point out that dealing with this big 3-inch and 4-inch piping can be a real challenge, because trying to thread this stuff is time consuming and slow, and it's something that you really need a lot of specialized equipment for, which I do have, but it makes it so that you just physically work real hard doing this stuff, because it takes big wrenches that, the wrenches I use on this weigh 40-50 pounds each. All of the pipe, all of the fittings is really, really heavy. It can be a challenge to do this stuff and do it well. It can be very physically demanding. So a lot of times I'll take breaks when I need to, make sure that I'm hydrated, make sure that my head's still in at 100%, because it is easy to hurt yourself doing this if you're not careful. So I think, let's see. Oh yeah, the other thing I'm going to talk about is on that return pipe on the left, that smaller 2-inch pipe there. Once I get this cut out of the way, you're going to see kind of an old trick that back in the day they used cast iron fittings instead of steel fittings, and what that allows you to do, since cast iron is very brittle, you can actually break the fittings apart without hurting the pipe usually. So that T with a small pipe going straight up is for the air vent. Now that is the main vent at the end of the main. That vent needs to be actually replaced with 4 much larger vents for the system to work correctly. So I'm just testing that T, see if there's any chance that I can get that vent out, and it's so old, it's been in there for over 100 years. It's done. So what I'm going to do is use that fact that cast iron T there is very brittle. I'm going to cut the little piece of pipe that's sticking out on the right hand side. First I got to support everything, as always. And I'm going to cut that off, and then I'm going to cut some horizontal slits in that T, not all the way through, but just enough that it weakens it at a specific point, and then I'm going to use a hammer and a chisel, and I'm just going to break the T. So you'll get to see that, and then what's left over, since I didn't actually cut all the way through the T, I will have fresh threads on the 2-inch pipe that I can put my new fittings on and connect everything to, and I'll be good to go. So you'll see that here in a sec, and get that old strap out of the way, and then here we'll cut that little nub off and cut horizontally into that T. I think I needed a new bolt. That bolt didn't hold for that strap. But cut horizontally across that T without cutting through it and into the threads of the pipe at all. And then I'll be able to just break it off with a hammer and a chisel and split it in half. And once I do that, I will be pretty much ready to go and continue piping the rest of the system once I get to that point. But first we got to get the jacket on the boiler, get the burners in, get everything, get all the controls and all the trim on the boiler, get everything assembled, and move forward from there. So if you guys want to know anything, I'm always available. You can reach me for this project at templeaaron boiler replacement at gmail.com. And if you're curious about the structure, I highly suggest you go to their website at templeaaron.org. That's templeaaron, AARON.org. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and looking forward to seeing you on the next one. Enjoy your day.